Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's going to be reviewing a lifted Toyota 4Runner TRD Off-Road Premium, aka the vehicle you should buy instead of a TRD Pro. Before we get into this video, I want to give a huge shout out and thank you to the Brent Brown Toyota here in Orem, Utah for giving me some time with this 4Runner. I'm going to include a link to the website in the description down below so you can check out what they have currently. And then on a side note, if you want to save time and money the next time you purchase a car, link to my car buying guide in the description down below. Let's get into it. Now, just like every 4Runner since the time of the dinosaurs, this 4Runner happens to also be powered by a 4-liter V6 naturally aspirated that goes through a 5-speed automatic transmission. It puts out 270 horsepower and then 278 pound-feet of torque. Now, before we move forward with this review, I do want to mention if you want to see more videos just like this, then I recommend you subscribe because I post content every single day. So just like the TRD Pro, we have this cool little scoop there in the center, which is it functional? Not really, but does it look cool? Yes. So it has an aggressive 4Runner front, especially with the higher approach angle front bumper. So I'd say with the front end, it looks just as cool as the TRD Pro. And then around the side here, we've got these chunky 33-inch tall tires wrapped around 17-inch wheels in the front and over in the rear. And so with this bigger tire setup, it actually sits a bit taller than a TRD Pro, and that's not the only thing that makes this taller. The other thing is the fact that this has a 3-inch suspension lift. Here's kind of a look at that setup from the front. And so, obviously it allows for these bigger tires to fit with the 4Runner, but it does give it a taller height. I'll show that height in just a moment. Got the cool off-road style side steps, and then we're probably not going to be able to see a bunch here in the back, but here's kind of a look at the suspension setup there in the back a little bit. Anyways, here is your full side profile. So you guys can see with that stance, it just looks so cool. And again, it definitely has more height compared to a TRD Pro. So that would, technically give this quite a bit more road presence compared to TRD Pro, and it would make it slightly more capable off-road because it has a little bit more clearance. And we are going to turn this on, and well, we're inside now because I'm going to show you guys the fact that this has TRD in the headrest, just like a TRD Pro. It's got a sunroof, so it's got that nice loaded up feature. It has the upgraded seats, which are really easy to clean. So like the overall interior, and again, it even has red stitching, is identical to a TRD Pro, and it even has the new heated steering wheel. I mean, what more can you ask for? And then in reverse, you guys can see you've got a backup camera. I don't think this one has, no 360 camera, so I guess that's one of the things that's a little bit different. But just like the TRD Pro, you guys can see the shift for the 5-speed automatic. It says TRD there on it. We have our 2-speed transfer case, little shifter here down below, just like the TRD Pro. The whole window slides down in the back, just like the TRD Pro. And then most importantly, just like the TRD Pro, if it'll pop up on camera, that's a little bit too bright, but anyways, we've got crawl control and the multi-terrain select. We have a rear locking differential, we have the A-track and the stability control. So it has, and I'll turn this down a little bit now, so it has all of the off-road goodies that the TRD Pro has. And before you put the lift and everything on, it's a little bit less expensive than TRD Pro, $48,229. After the lift and everything else that this has accessory-wise, $55,478 is the total MSRP, which is still a little bit less than a TRD Pro MSRP, and that is if you can get a TRD Pro at MSRP, which is definitely a lot harder than a TRD Off-Road Premium. Anyways, with that being said, let's take it out and drive it. Well, let's talk about visibility before we set off. Here's visibility over the hood, both the mirrors. Do a blind spot monitoring with the rest of the rear. And let us set off in the TRD Off-Road Premium with the lift. And speaking of TRD Pros, there's a TRD Pro right there, still sitting there. So here's the deal. First off, interior-wise, I mean, I said it in the walk around, this feels identical to a TRD Pro. Like, if you're sitting in this versus sitting in a TRD Pro, you won't be able to tell a difference. You even have a little bulge over the hood there. Now, the only thing inside, like just sitting here with the vehicle on, that you would be able to tell is the exhaust. The TRD exhaust on the TRD Pro does have more of a rumble to it that this does not have. So there is that, right? And that's the truth. Now when it comes to ride quality, this drives really well. Now The Fox shocks in the TRD Pro, I really like them. They do help out with damping a bit. What I've noticed with Fox shocks is they make the compression points just more comfortable. And so, yeah, these shocks versus the Fox shocks, yeah, it's not quite as comfortable, but it still performs really well. And on top of that, this has no problem whatsoever with moving these 33-inch tall tires. Like, I'm in eco mode right now, at least what it says. I know I'm not going super fast, but still, it doesn't struggle. It moves all of this just fine. So you also have that, and you do have like a kind of like a king of the road type feel in this. It's really cool, actually. Just the height that this sits at, and it does feel like a little bit bigger than the TRD Pro. Again, it is higher, so it makes sense. But you don't really lose anything from a handling perspective. I'd say that it handles pretty similarly to a TRD Pro. Might have a little bit more body roll, but it's not an insane amount. And this 4.0 V6, although ancient, it's got a pretty good torque. And, you know, it's gonna survive the apocalypse. That's what I always tell people. This engine, it's not the most exciting powertrain on the planet, but boy, oh boy, is it reliable as can be. And the 5-speed's way better than the 6-speed that's in the Tacoma. I'd much rather have this 4.0 V6 with a 5-speed than the 3.5 with the 6-speed any day of the week. So that'll get me into, you know, summing things up here with this lifted TRD Off-Road Premium. I think this drives really well, and I think this build makes way more sense than a TRD Pro for a lot of the people that buy TRD Pros, because most people buying the TRD Pro are not going to get the benefits you get out of the TRD Pro that they think they'd get. So here's what I mean. So with the TRD Pro, you've got the Fox shocks. It does help out with ride quality a little bit, but this is still really comfortable. And 4Runners, they all feel almost the same with the damping. There's a little bit of a benefit, but not a massive amount. The real benefit of those Fox shocks is off-road. So if you don't take your TRD Pro off-road, the Fox shocks aren't really doing all that much for you. And then if we move from the shocks to the exhaust, I guess, yeah, everyone can enjoy the, you know, louder exhaust that you get with the TRD Pro. So there is that. And then, I mean, outside of the shocks for off-road performance, I mean, that again, these tires are bigger than the TRD Pro tires. I guess the rack on the top, if you're gonna use that for storage, but most people, they don't ever use the roof rack, so it's like whatever. I'm trying to think anything else like with the. So, and this even has the carbon fiber that the TRD Pro has in the center. So I guess the point that I'm trying to make here is, I think this makes more sense because it looks just as cool, if not cooler than the TRD Pro. It sits a little bit higher, and it drives just as well as the TRD Pro on road. And so the only benefits you get out of the TRD Pro, the biggest benefit out of the TRD Pro would be the shocks. And if you're not going to go off-road, you're not really going to get a big benefit from those. And then when it comes to pricing, you know, I don't want to speak for every single Toyota dealership, but what I have seen is that it seems like Toyota dealerships are willing to, I don't know what this Edge is doing, they're willing to wheel and deal on these 4Runners with the TRD Off-Road package, but not in TRD Pro. So you could, I'm sure you could negotiate a better deal on this than you could on a TRD Pro. I'm sure a TRD Pro, like, maybe some dealers are selling them at MSRP now, but I doubt there's any dealer selling any TRD Pro under MSRP, but there are some dealers that are now selling these below MSRP. So yeah, just the money savings and getting the same looks and getting same everything, it makes more sense. Let me know what you guys think about the TRD Off-Road Premium with a lift, but I think that this, for most people, would make more sense if they want that cool rugged off-road look than the TRD Pro.